There are days when your body feels like a battlefield, not because you're in pain, not because you're sick, but because everything feels too much. The noise, the notifications, the people, the pressure. Your skin feels thin, your chest feels tight, your thoughts race even though you're just sitting still. And no matter how much you try to calm down, to focus, to function, it feels like you're always just a breath away from snapping. That's your nervous system talking. We tend to think of anxiety or stress as mental problems, like something happening only in our thoughts. But the truth is, your nervous system is deeply physical. It lives in your body. It listens to your environment. It responds to what you eat, how you move, how safe you feel. And when it's overwhelmed, when it's been stuck in fight or flight too long, it sends out signals. Sleepless nights, shallow breathing, a stomach that clenches at random, a jaw that never relaxes, a brain that feels foggy or wired or frozen. I know this because I've lived it. I've been the person with supplements and yoga apps and self-help books, and still felt like my body was vibrating from the inside out. And I've also been the person who found surprising calm, not through doing more, but through feeding myself differently. Through meals that grounded instead of stimulated, through ingredients that supported my parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode that's so often shut down in modern life. Through food that didn't just fill me, but told my body, you are safe. That's what this episode is about. Not the kind of eating that numbs you or distracts you, but the kind that regulates you, anchors you, reminds your nervous system that it doesn't have to be on high alert all the time. We're going to talk about how protein stabilizes your blood sugar, how fiber slows everything down, how certain minerals calm the stress response, and how the rhythm of eating itself can become a nervous system ritual. I start my mornings differently now. I used to skip breakfast or just grab something quick, coffee on an empty stomach, maybe a granola bar, maybe nothing. And by 10 a.m., I was already overstimulated. My blood sugar was crashing. My heart was racing. I thought I needed more caffeine. What I actually needed was protein, grounding, a message to my nervous system that it didn't have to go into survival mode before noon. So now I start with something warm and steady. A simple scramble with eggs, spinach, and sweet potatoes, or overnight oats with chia, flax, and almond butter. Always with a source of protein, always with some kind of slow-release carb and healthy fat. The combination doesn't just keep me full, it stabilizes my blood sugar, which stabilizes my cortisol, which stabilizes me. I feel less jittery, less reactive, more able to sit with what the day brings instead of rushing to control it. Mid-morning, I check in with my body, not just my hunger but my state. Am I tense? Am I shallow breathing? Am I reaching for something to soothe or to fuel? Sometimes what I need isn't food. It's magnesium, a mineral so many of us are deficient in, and one that plays a major role in calming the nervous system. I keep pumpkin seeds around for that. A handful with a few dried figs or sprinkled over yogurt gives me magnesium, protein, and fiber in one bite. I sip warm water or herbal tea instead of another coffee, and I feel myself come back into rhythm. Lunch is about safety. I know that sounds strange, but when your nervous system has been in overdrive for years, eating consistently and fully is a signal of stability. So I make bowls, always bowls. Something about the format feels contained and comforting. Brown rice or quinoa, roasted salmon or grilled tempeh, steamed greens or leftover roasted veggies, a drizzle of tahini or a spoonful of kimchi. It's colorful, warm, and deeply grounding. But more than the nutrients, it's the experience of sitting down to a real meal in the middle of the day that sends a signal. We're okay. We're fed. We're not running from anything right now. By late afternoon, I used to crash. That old slump, foggy brain, scattered thoughts, the urge to scroll endlessly or snack without thinking. Now I pause instead. I take a deep breath. I check in again. And if I need something, I reach for foods that regulate instead of stimulate. a banana with almond butter, a boiled egg with sea salt, a warm mug of bone broth, something savory, something gentle, something that tells my nerves, it's okay to rest here. Dinner is my reset. It's where I give myself the most permission to slow down. I make a meal that's not just nutritious, but deeply soothing. Lentil stew with garlic, cumin, and turmeric. Wild rice with roasted chicken and caramelized onions. A soft side of cooked greens with olive oil and lemon. Nothing fancy, just layers of warmth, texture, and care. I sit without screens. I chew. I breathe between bites. Because how I eat is just as important as what I eat. When I rush, my body stays in survival mode. When I'm present, I signal to my nervous system that we've arrived, that the danger has passed, that I am safe in this moment and in this meal. After dinner, if I want something sweet, I choose something that helps me wind down. A bowl of warm apples with cinnamon, a few squares of dark chocolate with herbal tea, or just a spoonful of almond butter and honey. I don't fear it. I don't overthink it. I simply ask, does this soothe me or spike me? And I choose what brings peace. Because nervous system healing isn't about perfection. It's about regulation, about rhythm, about recognizing that food isn't just fuel. It's communication. It tells your body what kind of world you live in. And when your meals are steady, nourishing, and predictable, your body starts to believe that the world is safe, that you are supported, that you don't have to stay on edge to survive. So if you've been living with that constant hum of hypervigilance, the clenched jaw, the shallow breath, the endless fatigue, I want you to know that food can help. Not as a cure-all, not as another thing to fix, but as a companion, a rhythm, a reminder that your body is not broken, it's just been bracing for too long, and it's allowed to exhale now. If you'd like to explore this deeper, I've created a nervous system meal map, a simple guide with meals, minerals, and habits that help me calm my own storm. You'll find the link in the description, or comment calm, and I'll send it to you. In the next episode, we're going to look at food as medicine, but not in the restrictive way. We'll explore how inflammation, anxiety, cravings, and even our mood are linked to our food. Not to control them, but to support them from a place of care, not fear. Until then, breathe deep, eat slow, and trust that every bite you take in calm is a message to your body. I'm here, and I'm not running anymore. There's a phrase we hear a lot, food is medicine. And while it sounds empowering, for many of us, it's been twisted into something harsh, something cold, something that makes food feel clinical, measured, and stripped of joy. I used to hear food as medicine and immediately think of restriction, of cutting things out, of detoxes and diets and long lists of forbidden ingredients. I thought healing meant less sugar, less salt, less food, less pleasure. But what I've come to learn is this: when food is truly used as medicine, it doesn't feel like punishment, it feels like coming home. It doesn't shrink you, it rebuilds you. It doesn't rob you of joy, it returns it. Real food used medicinally is about nourishment, not deprivation. It's about giving your body what it's been missing, not taking away what it loves. And it starts not in the fridge, but in the shift inside your heart. Because somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that wellness is earned through suffering, that if something tastes good, it must be bad for you, that healing only counts if it hurts. But what if that's not true? What if restoration comes from more flavor, more fiber, more protein, more presence, more care? That's what this episode is about. Not just what to eat, but how to eat in a way that makes your body feel safe again, strong again, steady again. We're going to talk about how real food restores you at a cellular level, calms inflammation, balances hormones, supports digestion, fuels your energy, and regulates your mood. But we're going to talk about it from a place of joy, not fear, of rebuilding, not restricting, of remembering, not erasing. I used to eat like my body was a problem to solve, like I had to fix it. Every meal was a math equation, counting, calculating, adjusting, and it drained me. Because even when I was eating the right things, I was doing it with stress. And that stress canceled out half the benefits. But when I began to see food as restoration, not repair, but return, everything changed. I started looking at my plate and asking, what can I add to help my body rebuild? Not what should I remove to punish it. At breakfast, I added chia seeds and flax to my oats, not because I had to, but because they're rich in omega-3s and fiber and they make my digestion smoother. I added cinnamon, not just for flavor, but to help regulate my blood sugar. I swapped plain yogurt for one with live cultures and added berries for antioxidants, not to make it lower calorie, to make it higher nourishment. And the difference wasn't just physical, it was emotional. I felt fed. And that feeling of being fed goes deeper than fullness. It touches your nervous system, your memory, your breath. At lunch, I built bowls with color. Leafy greens, roasted squash, lentils, avocado, red cabbage, tahini. Every color brought something different. Every texture had a purpose. I added herbs like parsley and cilantro, not just for taste, but because they help the body detox gently. I started including fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi, not because they were trendy, but because they rebalanced my gut when nothing else worked. And the more I added, the more I noticed a quiet shift. My cravings calmed, my skin cleared, my energy stopped crashing, my mind felt less frantic, because what restoration feels like, quiet, steady, like the volume in your body turns down. Dinner became a sacred space, not a performance, not a checklist, just a quiet act of rebuilding. I roasted vegetables in olive oil and rosemary, sweet potatoes, carrots, zucchini, because they reminded me of warmth. I seared salmon or baked tofu, always with something green on the side. Steamed kale, sautéed spinach, or just a handful of arugula with lemon. I sprinkled hemp seeds or chopped walnuts on top, added miso or tamari for umami. And I let my food be full. Full of flavor, full of nutrients, full of presence. No cutting corners, no diet versions. Just whole ingredients coming together in a way that felt generous. After dinner, if I wanted dessert, I made it from a place of intention, not impulse. Baked pears with cinnamon and almond butter, a square of dark chocolate with mint tea, a chia pudding with coconut milk and mango. These weren't cheats, they were invitations, ways to end the day in peace instead of panic. Because food as medicine isn't just about inflammation markers and lab tests. It's about how your body feels when it receives, when it's not bracing for restriction, when it's not apologizing for hunger, when it's not performing for external validation. When your meals become a way to say, I care about you, I want you to feel good, I'm listening now. And the truth is, healing isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's the fact that you don't need coffee to wake up anymore, or that your skin glows more, or that you don't cry at the drop of a hat, or that you fall asleep without the war in your gut or in your head. That's what food can do. Not as a weapon, not as a punishment, but as a partner. So if you've been burned by the idea of food as medicine, I hope you'll let this be your reintroduction. Food that heals doesn't have to be rigid. It can be rich, soulful, beautiful, a way to come back to yourself, one bite at a time. If you'd like to explore this deeper, I've created a free guide called Restore with Real Food. It's full of meals, nutrients, and rhythms that supported my own restoration. You can find the link in the description, or just comment Restore, and I'll send it to you directly. In our next episode, we're going to talk about something that hits close to home for so many of us. Body image, shame, and the role food plays in how we see ourselves. It's called The Mirror Isn't the Enemy, Rewriting the Body Image Story with Real Food. Until then, eat like you're rebuilding something sacred, because you are. I used to dread mirrors, not just in fitting rooms or photos, but even the one in my bathroom. I would glance quickly, critique immediately, and walk away feeling smaller, not in size, but in spirit. There was always something wrong, always something to fix, and I thought if I just ate better, If I just followed the plan, if I just had more discipline, then I could finally look in the mirror and not flinch. But what I didn't realize was this. My problem wasn't the mirror. It was the story I had attached to it. Somewhere along the way, I learned to measure my worth by my appearance, and food became a tool in that measurement. If I ate clean, I felt proud. If I slipped, I felt ashamed. My meals weren't just meals, they were reports, judgments, proof that I was doing well or failing, and that mindset stole so much joy from my plate. I wasn't eating to nourish, I was eating to earn approval, from the scale, from society, from myself. But here's the thing. No amount of kale can heal a heart that feels unworthy. No number of crunches can fix a relationship with food that's rooted in fear. What finally started to change everything for me wasn't a new plan. It was a new question. What if my body isn't the problem? That's what this episode is about. It's about the quiet war so many of us fight with our reflections, and how real food, offered with presence instead of punishment, can help rewrite that story. Not because it changes what you see in the mirror overnight, but because it changes how you speak to the reflection, how you care for the body you see, how you stop chasing an image and start honoring a life. I started small. I stopped skipping meals as a way to make up for how I looked. I stopped punishing myself with bland food after a weekend of indulgence. I stopped using hunger as a badge of honor. Instead, I began asking, what would it look like to feed myself like I mattered? Not like I was broken, not like I was too much, just like I was worthy of being fed. That shift was subtle, but it changed everything. Breakfast became a moment of kindness, not control. I started my day with something that said, you deserve to feel good today. A warm bowl of oats with chia, berries, and almond butter. Scrambled eggs with kale and sweet potato. A protein smoothie with banana and flax. Not because they were low calorie, but because they helped me feel stable, focused, energized. Lunch became a place where I didn't hide. I used to eat small, unsatisfying meals in front of others, then overeat alone. Now, I give myself full, visible permission. A bowl with lentils, roasted veggies, tahini drizzle, a turkey sandwich on whole grain bread with avocado and arugula, plus a side of crunchy carrots and hummus. I stopped shrinking my food in order to shrink my body. I started expanding my meals to support the life I actually wanted to live. Dinner, once a battlefield of guilt and overcorrection, became a time of reconnection. I made meals slowly, with music playing, windows cracked open, grilled salmon with garlic and lemon, quinoa cooked in broth, roasted broccoli tossed with olive oil, not to earn my worth, but to affirm it. To end the day with something beautiful, something that didn't whisper discipline, but shouted care. Over time, I noticed something unexpected. I wasn't just digesting food better, I was digesting my reflection better. I didn't love what I saw every day, but I didn't hate it anymore. I didn't avoid mirrors. I didn't check my body in every reflective surface. I just lived. I fed myself. I moved when I wanted. I rested without guilt. And the mirror? It stopped being a judge. It became a witness. I still have days where the old thoughts creep in, where the mirror feels loud again, where I catch a glimpse of myself and flinch before I can stop it. But now I know what to do. I come back to the table. I make something grounding. I sit. I breathe. I remind myself that my body is not a billboard. It's not a performance. It's a home. And homes don't have to be perfect to be safe. They have to be lived in, loved, taken care of. That's what real food helped me remember. That healing my relationship with my body wasn't about loving how I looked every day. It was about honoring what my body did every day. Carrying me through hard things, holding emotions I didn't know how to name, digesting, breathing, adapting. Even when I gave it so little, it gave me so much. So now I feed it. Not just for fuel, not to reach a goal, but to say thank you for not giving up on me when I gave up on it, for staying, for holding on, for still showing up every day, asking only for nourishment and care in return. And if you've been at war with your reflection, I want you to know you are not alone, and you are not broken. And healing doesn't begin with the mirror. It begins with the moment you decide that your body deserves love today, not someday. That food can be a part of that love. That every protein-rich, fiber-filled, real food meal is a quiet act of peace, of reunion, of saying, I choose to care, not control. If you'd like support in that, I've created a free guide called Reflections and Recipes, with meals, mantras, and mindset shifts that help me rebuild a body story rooted in kindness. You'll find the link in the description or comment mirror, and I'll send it your way. In the next episode, we'll talk about something I think we all crave: comfort. Not just from food, but through it. It's called Comfort Food That Heals, high protein and fiber plates with soul. And it's about reclaiming your most nostalgic meals in ways that nourish instead of numb. Until then, eat with compassion, look with softness, and remember, the mirror is not the enemy, it's the invitation to come back to yourself.